Okay, we are live. Good day, everyone. I am here with a great woman, someone I respect, and we are going to talk about how to unlock the writer within. You know, a lot of us wants to write, but we can't write. A lot of us don't. We just like reading other people's story, but we don't know how to tell our own story by writing. But today we are going to focus on how you can unlock the writer within. I am a writer. I've written 2 books. I've also written several articles. I've done some work in the area of writing. I also write poem. And some of us, I look at it as a gift. But some people do train themselves to become good writer. So today I have a special person that will help you that wants to write to unlock that writer within. She help lots of women on how they can start writing. She also assists therapists. But one fascinating thing about her was that at the beginning of her life, she was not a writer. She believes in calculation, a maths teacher. But as time went on, she went into her inner self through self discovery, and she was able to harness that the giftings or talent or the ability to write. So today, I want to make welcome my guest in Aloud with Ike, Carol Ann Cooper. You're welcome. Can you help me to welcome my guest tonight? Well, in West Africa, in Nigeria, West Africa, this is night time. The same at the UK. Somewhere in America, they are in the afternoon and mornings, while New Zealand, it should be the AM. So, Carol Ann Cooper, you are welcome to Allow with Ike. I guess you can hear me now.
I
So
can
you
hear
just go
you.
ahead. We are listening to you.
Oh, thank
We're
you.
having network issues, so we are going to find a way to understand ourselves. So you just go ahead. Thumbs up.
Okay. Gosh, this is very much like, I guess, how words have always been for me, this finding and communication.
Thumbs
And
up. Thumbs up.
thumbs up.
Right.
Um, so I'm just going to carry on talking because
We are
this
listening to you.
um, whatever's in the way here that's been having us to struggle this evening to connect and get live is the struggle I had with words. And
Yeah.
as a maths teacher, um, before I even became a teacher, I love maths. And this link, this wherever's here this evening, there's something that's not wanting to connect. So I'm just going to carry on because I'm assuming that I'm still live. And it actually shows my journey from being a maths teacher to where I am now and the struggle that's been there.
We're live. Go ahead.
And interesting because I never thought I'd be here. If you told me years ago that I'd be at this point helping unlock the writer within, that would have been no, not me. But it all stemmed from my daughter's struggle with education and with learning, and me finding something called educational kinesiology, brain gym, and the change within my daughter when I took her to see this educational kinesiologist within the space of 5 months was it was tremendous. From someone who was angry, upset, didn't want to sit her exams because she was going to fail them all, to someone who was happy, confident, sat them and passed them, and then was going on to another course a year later and getting merits and distinctions in her work. I just had to know more. And so I actually trained in brain gym. I took it into my teaching, and the difference it was making for my students. But it was, I couldn't explain it. I just couldn't explain it. I found it really hard. I found like I met this mountain of resistance. And because the school was in difficulties, there were other issues and things that needed to be looked at. So over time, what happened was I ended up leaving and stepping out of teaching to focus on training in educational kinesiology and also other complementary fields as well. And along the way, this one day I just had this message in my head. You're going to write a book. And it's like, what? Me? Write a book? How? What's it going to be about? No. And so there's that inquiry that's got set up. And the silence that I think was always me is what I found I can now break, that silence. Because I started to realize that there were there's this silence. There's what difficulty to find the words to know what I want to say. And I expect some of you find that sometimes. It's like you get to a point where I'm lost for words. What is it I'm saying? What is it I'm talking about? And where do I go from here? And what is it I want to share? And I think it's because it's almost like you've lost that connection with whoever you're sharing it with. I mean, once you get that connection back and you can feel there's that connection and that somebody's listening, because I always was aware of when people aren't listening or whether they're wanting to speak. You know, they're in their head and they're forming their answer. And that would silence me. So I've really realized that actually I was very kinesthetic, very much feeling things, but struggled to find the words. And very visual, but again, struggled to find the words to say what I wanted to say or what I felt or what I saw. And so what I have done is gone inside and actually been able to unlock the words. And what I realized was that my birth had quite a lot to do with it. I went back to a time where I felt that pain and upset. I didn't want to be born. Well, I don't know where that came from, but it just came out, and there was a load of upset there. And so the friend that was working with me, we were practicing one of our brain gym balances at the time. And bless her, it was like, what do I do? But she just held these points for me here, which are these actually emotional stress release points. In brain gym, we call them positive points. And we finished that process, and then we did the process again. And this time I had a much more joyful experience, and it was like, yes, I want to be born, and everything just flowed, and I felt there was a joy, there was wanting to live, there was wanting to be born. And interestingly enough, about 6 months later, I was talking to my mum, and just out of the blue, I don't know where the conversation was going, but She just happened to say, "Oh, you were a forceps delivery. You didn't want to be born." And it's like, wow. And the more I've dived into that and freed up the pain of that time, the upset, and a lot of things around that, I've actually realized how much that affected my brain and my language centers and my ability to access words. And so with working in different ways of connecting my language centers, what I've realized is that words can flow a bit more easily. I'm happy to explore words. Words now don't go into this void never to be seen again. They actually flow, and they're flowing a lot more quickly. And I'm more comfortable with, if I can't find the words, just being quiet and just letting the words come, because they do come. And I'm more comfortable with, um, if I don't know a word or it doesn't speak to me, I'll look it up and explore it. Um, because for me, words never moved, they didn't have any meaning. Whereas numbers, it was like, I see another number, I see one number, and I see a whole load of other numbers around it that make that number, you know? And it was just like they were there. Whereas with words, there was no, they were just like there, plonked. They didn't speak, they didn't do anything. So now I bring them to life because I'm happy to go into the dictionary. I'm happy to look them up and look at synonyms and look at other words that come up that I don't understand, and have a whole exploration around the words. Why do I now assist others with unlocking the writer within? Because that just seems to have been the unfolding of this journey. It, it's part of my passion, even when I was a teacher, of helping people to move through stuckness, to realize actually they can do something, and that anything is actually possible. And what I've realized is that actually everybody has the ability to write, and everybody has the ability to write a book, and also that everybody has a story to tell that would have an impact in the world, would contribute to making a difference to somebody else. And so what I now generally mostly work with is women who have got their story to tell. So it's like coaches, speakers, traders, therapists. It's their story that is the most important one for them to tell, that is what makes them unique. It's what makes them stand out within the field that they're in, and what makes them different to everybody else. And it's their take on it, it's their experience that they bring. And it's through their story and writing it and sharing it that allows for others to get to know them. But that is actually the most difficult story to write. And what I've realized most of it's because it makes you vulnerable. It's very emotional. And actually going to those emotional places, most people just go, mm-mm, mm-mm, can't go there. And what I do is actually I can support and create this cradle of support so that you can be with those emotions. You can go there and write from that. And being able to write from that place, from the emotion of it, allow yourself to be vulnerable, allows you to connect at a much deeper level with your reader, your potential client, and that's what then attracts them to you. Um, how do I do this? Using a lot of my tools that I've trained in, but generally what I've discovered is um, there's limiting beliefs that you have that are formed over time. Something happens and you go, oh, I can't do that. It's like one of my granddaughters when they were a lot younger. They were in 7 or 8, and they were doing some spelling at school, and it was a spelling test, and it had been a lot of it had been marked wrong. So it was immediately, oh, I'm not a good speller. And when I looked at it, a lot of them were actually correct. But what they had been marked wrong for was there was a capital letter in the word. It wasn't sitting on the line. You can see how all of a sudden there's a limiting belief there that could have been set up for life. I'm not a good speller. When actually she was. So we worked through that and did some brain gym balance and some work on that in terms of allowing her to acknowledge she was a good speller and that she could spell. We also obviously had a word with the teacher and it said, look, this doesn't work. And so it was marked differently from then on. But immediately she was getting 10 out of 10 out of her spellings, and it was, yeah, it was sorted that I'm not a good speller. I went to, I'm a good speller. I can spell. So I will look at beliefs there that we don't actually realise are there, that hold you back. There are other things to do with when you first learn to write. And handwriting. I go back to the basics of handwriting, because what I've realised is there are developments that are not fully integrated within the writing process. We're expected to write using that fine motor skill, and whichever hand is your most dominant, but you should be able to write with both, attempt with both. But also, we don't allow this power grip to be there with that gross motor skill of just scribbling in the whole of this arm move with both arms. So I go back to integrating those gross motor skills using both sides of the body, so that when you're doing the fine motor skill, this movement here isn't wanting to move at the same time, and you're not setting up a stress there, a tension, because there's something fighting within your body. The other thing I've discovered is there's an inner child who is still trying to learn to write, and you are trying to write so others can learn from you. There's a tussle going on. So how can you write effectively so that others can learn from you when there's a part of you that's going, I still don't know how to learn. I still don't know how to write. Am I doing this right? Or, there's that questioning. So I work with the inner child and do that transition. So all of you is in a place where you can write so others can learn from. I also look at emotions, as I said before, and support you in going into the emotions and working with them and from that place. And then there's actually just getting it completed. I realise that very often we get so far with what we're doing, but actually getting down to completing it is another story. We just dive straight onto something else. But there are a lot of things in the way of actually getting it complete. So we look at that as well. So there's actually lots of factors in this whole thing about unlocking that writer within. And as I say, it has been an amazing, amazing journey. what I've also realized is that even if you're somebody who enjoys writing, you do find it easy, there's actually another level to which you can go. There's an even deeper level of unlocking that can be had. And sometimes I think we settle. We think, oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm good at it. We don't push ourselves. Or not so much push ourselves, but realize that, oh, I could do more than this. Because when I think back, I was in top set. I got O levels, I got A levels, I got a degree in maths. But when I think back now, how much better I could have done if I had unlocked what I've unlocked within me now. If I got all that then. It's like, wow. Obviously it wasn't meant to be, so there's no point beating myself up. Because sometimes we think, oh, why didn't that happen then? It wasn't meant to. And that's a waste of energy. You get what you get at the perfect timing, is what I've realised. And I've realised I had to go through everything I've been through and worked on myself to the depths that I have, such that I can hold that space, so that I can be with whatever emotion comes up, whatever comes up for somebody, and I can just hold the space without wanting to fix it or change it or stop it. Because it's allowing yourself to be with that, work through it, and come out the other side. And I remember when I was little, I was about 8, something like that, and possibly 7, 8, my grandfather died. And my mum coming in and saying to me, I didn't realise, that you understood what's happened. And I'm thinking, of course I understand. I know I'm not going to see him again. But I felt like I couldn't cry. I'd been crying, and then I just felt like I had to stop. And again, that was something else I ended up going back to and healing. And realising it's okay to feel those emotions, to cry. And there's a deeper there. There's a lot we understand more as a child than people realise. I'm actually, I feel really excited with the way things are going now. I'm starting to feel a want to write, something that I not had before. And I did do some writing last year, and I've done another piece again this year, just short pieces in some community book projects. And they've been published. And so all of a sudden, I'm published. And it's like, how did that happen? Just do the inner work. And so I'm now starting to think, this book that I have started, that I've got a structure for, that I know I'm actually living, that I feel it's time I actually sat down and gave myself the time to write it. Because I am a writer. And that took me a long time to say that. Because at one time, end of last year, I was still denying, no, I'm not a writer. People say, you're a writer. And I'm going, no. But actually, yes, I am a writer. And maybe you think what you write isn't going to be good enough, or people aren't going to want to read it. And what you put down is like, it could just come out as a jumbled mess. But that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect first time. Where do we get this idea that it has to be perfect first time, that it has to flow? And you go through it again and again. And as I say, just do some, for me, doing some brain gym in between each bit that you do. Just start with getting up and moving, because educational kinesiology is about drawing out learning through movement. And brain gym are just activities that help take away that stress of learning, help you to reset there and find a new way of doing something. Naturally, your body will do that. So one thing you could do is just get up and move, because it's all about movement rather than sitting still and trying to fathom it all out. You know, have a go at the gross motor skill like this and then write again. But be prepared to go through it several times, because that's what I find when I work with people. They'll write it, I'll do some activities with them, do some brain gym, come back, they'll write it again, and there's a something's changed. The way they've written, the tone that it's got, there's a depth to it, there's a richness to it, there's more substance to it, and they've become more confident with their writing. So if you've got any questions about this, because I've I have found this quite hard, just sort of coming into this, because it was going to be a conversation, and so having questions often helps the dialogue to progress. So I've just shared what I think is here to share right now, but I'd invite you to get in touch with me, ask me some more questions. You know, what's there for you with your writing? Where are you at? What more do you think you could do? Are you stuck? Are you finding it easy? Would like to consider that you could do more? You know, so please do get in touch with me. I have a Facebook group called Get Your Book Written, and I'm also on LinkedIn, Caroline Cooper. So if you'd like to connect with me, and just mention this Ike's show is where you see me, and I just love to support you in whatever way I can, because for me that's the same as when I was teaching maths. That joy of somebody just going, oh yes, 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 I've got it, I've got it. That's what this is all about, you know, helping to someone achieve, but also get their message out there, make the difference that you want to make in the world. Because as Maya Angelou says, there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. So thank you for listening. I'll just leave you with that
Yeah,
thought. Okay, thank you.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Karen Cooper. Yeah, I appreciate you for what you just the little discuss. What will happen? I'm going to get you in here again so we can have a proper conversation. The network was really whack for me because I traveled outside my town, so I'm in a different city entirely. So I want to apologize for that. So when I get my network, when I'm back, okay, to my own city, we'll have this conversation and we'll talk more about it. So I really want people to get to know how they can unlock the writer within, because I believe everyone can write. I'm a writer, so when I see people, they can tell good stories about themselves, but they can't put them into writing. And the only way, according to your world, that you can publish is when you write. So I'm going to have you here thank you for joining me. So I will see you next week, Saturday, or on Saturday already on a new day. So on Saturday we'll see you once again. So thank you everyone. Thank you and for being here. So hope we'll have more time to talk. Thank you. Thank you for your time. So good night everyone, or good morning or good evening. Bye bye. Bye. Yeah.